Hi, welcome to another episode of Burning Issues. I'm Eagan Fire Chief Mike Scott, and today we're outside the Eagan Fire Safety Center, which is located off Yankee Doodle Road in Eagan. Fire Safety Center opened up about 2 years ago, but we still get a lot of inquiries about what's all inside the Fire Safety Center and why it was needed. So today we're going to take you through the building and try to answer all those questions. So please join me as we take a tour. Welcome to the Eagan Fire Safety Center. This was opened in the spring of 2011. It replaced 2 fire stations in the city of Eagan. Eagan has the second largest volunteer department in the state of Minnesota, with Bloomington being the largest. So prior to this station being open, we had 6 fire stations throughout the community. Our busiest area is the northern part of Eagan, so essentially north of Yankee Doodle. And because of fire station locations, that was our worst response time. We were experiencing response times of over 12 minutes to get to fire calls. And typically what we'd like to see is under 7 minutes. So there was a study completed, and this site at the former Carriage Hills Golf Course was identified as a site for a fire station. The key with a volunteer department is you need to be close to where the volunteers live. Nobody's at the station historically until one of our pagers sounds. So what happens is all the volunteer firefighters carry a pager just like the one I'm carrying today. When the pager goes off, they respond from their house or their business, wherever they're at, to the fire station and staff a truck. So the main reason for the Fire Safety Center being researched and moved here is because of our response time prior to the building being built. And what we did is we tried to make it as efficient as possible. We combined 2 fire stations into this one facility, and at the same time we looked at what other city needs there were. So that's why it's called a Fire Safety Center versus Fire Station 2. There are several roles in this building that you wouldn't find typically in a fire station. That includes a couple conference rooms and a training room that's used by anybody from the city. So any city department can use those facilities because we were really kind of lacking those at City Hall. It also has a police field office, a police evidence room, a live training area that's used by police and fire, and we have 6 apartments that 6 volunteers live at. In exchange, they get a truck on the road much quicker for us. They do some work around the station, including snow removal, lawn mowing, and stuff like that. We also have our fire administration offices here, so the 5 full-time staff that we have are housed out of this facility. Eagan has 5 full-time staff and 150 volunteers. When we decided to build this building, we wanted to make it as efficient as possible from an energy standpoint, and the mayor and council approved that we could get it to be a certified green building. We checked into LEED certification. Because of the cost of that, we decided it wasn't a good way to go, so we went with a place that we had never heard of before, but it's called Green Globes. And actually Green Globes has been around longer than the LEED certification process. It's out of Canada. And we are very proud that the Eagan Fire Safety Center is the first Green Globe certified fire station in the United States. We've got 2 Globe certification, which is the equivalent of a silver LEED certification. And again, we're the first fire station to be certified, but there's many other buildings around that are Green Globe certified, including some municipal buildings in Apple Valley. So it's new to fire stations, but not necessarily new to the building process. So what we're hoping to show you today is the different features of the building that I just talked about, including the history of our department, which we'll talk about now. So this is our history wall. It shows the 50 years of dedication to our community by our volunteers. The department was formed in 1963, so in 2013 we're 50 years old. We're celebrating our 50th year. The history wall shows each decade the population of the city, the number of calls, and some of the big features that happened over the years at the Eagan Fire Department. And now I'd like to introduce you to 2 of our charter members that will explain more about the history of the Eagan Fire Department, Jerry Adam and Maynard Klang.
Yes, there was a couple of home fires that, there was one that especially almost cost a life. And that's really the reason that we started organizing. But about 3 years prior to that, they had approval to form a fire department, but nothing was ever done. So after that one fire is when we really got involved in, let's get it going. We spent about a year with training until we purchased the truck. And then after that, of course, we were in business.
Back in 1963, there was not a large tax base in Eagan, so we had to look around for something that we could afford. And this was available. It was relatively cheap. And as I said, it was built in 1942, and that might be quite evident from the lack of chrome on the truck. Chrome was an essential war material, so we couldn't use it to fancy up the equipment. Ron Road at that time was just a gravel road. It was dusty or muddy, and the property that the fire station was built on was part of the old Ron farm. The first station had 2 bays. Of course, at that time, we only had Jenny, which we affectionately call this truck, and we bought a used gasoline tanker for a water tanker. And those were the only 2 trucks we had.
When we first started, we had about 50 guys on the department. We only have 10 set of gears. And so the first 10 people that got to the station, they're the ones that had the gear. The rest of us just had to go with regular street clothes, but of course we were just the backup.
Looking back over the 50 years that the Eagan Fire Department's been in operation, there's been a lot of changes. Of course, as Jerry said, the world has changed in those 50 years. The hazards are different. The size of the buildings are so much bigger now. And you have to realize when we were formed back in 1963, the population of Eagan was probably less than 6,000 people. And today it's over 64,000. So we've seen a lot of changes in Eagan over the last 50 years.
So this is the classroom at the Fire Safety Center. It's used by any city agency, not only the fire department, and it's actually used with any government agency that wants to use it. We're finding that it's used a lot more than we thought. It's one of the largest classrooms that we have in any city building. It can seat a little over 100 people, and it also doubles as our emergency operations center. With us today is Jeremy Klein from the police department. He's our emergency preparedness coordinator, and he's going to kind of explain what the room would look like when it's used as emergency operations center.
Yes, the Emergency Operations Center serves as a centralized location where managers from all of the different city departments come together and coordinate their activities during a large-scale emergency. And using this facility, it's a shared facility. Most of the time it serves as the training room, and fortunately we don't have a lot of large-scale incidents where we have to activate the Emergency Operations Center. But when we do, we can convert it from a training configuration into the EOC setup where we've got each department basically has an assigned position where they can come together and coordinate their activities. With this facility, the City Council is able to meet right in an adjacent conference room, basically connected with the Emergency Operations Center. They can keep track of all the activities that are going on in this room, and the managers from the different departments have access to the council for policy decisions, those kinds of questions that come up during an emergency response. Since we don't generally an emergency operations center is activated for incidents that cover a large geographic area or a long period of time, and fortunately most of our emergencies, our incidents are handled within one operational period, taken care of by police and fire. But when we do get into those larger scale events, that certainly is something we have to train for and practice. Within this room, we've incorporated quite a few different forms of technology to make our responses easier as an EOC configuration, but they're also very beneficial using it in a training facility. For PowerPoint presentations and so on. And we do have a small mini dispatch area where we can take our own calls. If the Dakota Communications Center, Dispatch Center is overwhelmed, we can start managing some of our own calls. Even with all of the technology that's out there that we try to incorporate into this facility, it's still very important to have that face-to-face coordination among the departments, and if we have outside agencies that are assisting, being able to bring those people in too to coordinate.
I have with us today some of the tools that we use for public education. Fire prevention and public education are actually the two top priorities with the mission of the Eagan Fire Department. We teach classes in the Fire Safety Center. We have this trailer that was donated to us by the Eagan Rotary Club, and we use that to teach kitchen fire safety, escape plans, and we can actually smoke it up and have people practice actually doing escapes from their homes.
All right. Look, there's a door right here. If it's cold, do you feel the doorknob? Think it's safe to go outside?
Some of the other tools we use, we teach some hands-only CPR and first AED, and then we also have fire extinguisher training. To learn more about the different opportunities for fire prevention and public education, you can call the Fire Safety Center. You can also check out the City of Eagan website and go to fire, and we have other opportunities for you.
In our business, we come across a lot of different things, a lot of extra suppression tools inside of buildings. And this is one of those systems. This is a fire sprinkler riser. And we use this system, we incorporate it into our new Fire Safety Center to help educate our firefighters on which valve to turn, help our staff also understand what they're looking for on inspections when they're walking out. We incorporated this into our building because we can't really go out and go into businesses and mess with their system. So we incorporated it into our building so we can teach our staff on what to do in a situation when they come about water flowing inside of a building. We do teach this to prevent any further damage if a system accidentally discharged due to a malfunction or a weather incident, that type of thing. And we also incorporated down here is a actual sprinkler pipe. It's got a little heat sensor in there. So once a fire reaches a certain temperature, it'll discharge water from that only sprinkler head. It's not like Hollywood where all the heads go off. It's just the sprinkler heads that reach that temperature. So if we did have water coming out of a sprinkler head, we can train our firefighters how to stop that flow of water with some what we call sprinkler wedges, and they'll just basically come up here and stop the pressure and water from flowing from the system. In our city, we have a number of buildings with different types of fire alarm systems. Behind me here we have 4 different types of fire alarm systems, some being the most technology advanced to our most simple and basic fire alarm systems that we come across in our community. And what we have behind here is an education tool for firefighters that shows the different types of smoke detectors, heat detectors, fire pole stations. What we do with this, we educate our firefighters what we're looking for out on fire calls that we respond to with fire alarms.
This is our search and rescue room. It's used for training our firefighters in a non-hazardous situation, like a real fire. But we're able to simulate visibility issues and sound issues by injecting theatrical smoke into this room, and then we put background music in the room. We're able to come up just like we would entering a structure fire and do search and rescue evolutions and conduct hose line, hose lay evolutions. This room has been designed so we can relay it out very quickly with removable panels. The panels right now are set up for a fire rescue, fire training. They're 4 foot high because typically when we enter and do a search, we're low, we stay low, we crawl into a structure. But we also are able to put the panels 8 foot high, and the police department uses this for SWAT evolutions, SWAT training. They can come up here and conduct drills also. The panels are able to remove, and then we can readjust them and change the layout of the room very quickly. We have 2 exterior windows, and then we have an exterior balcony that we can conduct operations from this room outside, simulating like a real structure fire, or we can actually ladder from the outside and come into this room. Yeah, we're on the outside of the training area now, outside of the building, and this is the tower, training tower, that we simulate doing rescues off of, like balconies and off of roofs with our ladder trucks. We also have windows that we can take our ground ladders and use ground ladders for conducting rescue evolutions.
Thanks for coming on our tour of the Eagan Fire Safety Center. I hope after seeing the inside of the building you realize what a practical building it is. If you want to learn more about the Eagan Fire Safety Center, or you want to go on your own tour, please call the Eagan Fire Administration Building or go on our website, and we do monthly tours. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on another episode of Burning Issues.